Hey guys, welcome back to another video at Jensen's Reptiles. So first question probably is, why am I staring at a huge box full of reptile supplies? I'm going to go on a bit of a ramble first and explain kind of the premise of this video, and then we'll dive into it a little bit. So as a reptile keeper, as an amphibian keeper, as an invertebrate keeper, I need a lot of equipment. When that equipment fails on a bank holiday weekend or over a certain amount of time that the shops are closed for, or that deliveries may take a while to reach me for, it leaves me quite frankly a little bit buggered. My house is pretty warm, I can always whack on the heating and kind of sweat out the humans but leave the reptiles feeling great, but it doesn't really work because all of my animals have different requirements. So when something fails, it is one of the most frustrating things, because if I don't have a spare to hand, what do? Do I leave my animal without their correct requirements? Do I potentially have all of my other animals in an incorrect condition so that one can have it slightly better? Or do I go to kind of an emergency measure? Solution to that actually is no, I just prepare myself. And I'm not saying this from a position of always having been prepared. I definitely haven't been, and this is why I do it now. So there have been a couple of occasions where I've kind of got home from work or woken up in the morning or whatever, and when I've been doing my kind of thermometer check, which I check all the animals in the morning and same again in the evening, and one temperature doesn't look right, and I go, oh bugger, the heating's blown, or the lighting's gone and the heat isn't where it should be, or just plain the lighting's gone. That's a whole other issue. And then if it's on a day, like I said, like a bank holiday weekend or any kind of public holiday, it's going to take me 3-4 days, sometimes even 5 days, until I can get a delivery, which for me is one of the most stressful things. I hate for my animals to be in a condition that isn't optimum, and I know that a lot of animals can tolerate temperature drops, and you know, that's not a worry for kind of overnight for me, and 24 hours I may even let that just be the case. But I always think of it this way: I can withstand a temperature drop, but it doesn't mean I'm comfortable, and I don't want my animals to be uncomfortable. It's a really horrible feeling. Whether they can withstand it or not, they can't tell me how they're feeling, so I just want to make sure that everything is as best as it can be all the time. So that brings me to this glorious box of goodies. Now, while this looks like I've gone and raided a shop floor, I promise you it wasn't all done in one day. This is kind of a collection, an accumulation, if you will, of things that I've got over time. What we tend to do here is, if there's a sale on, we will get 2, and that way you're kind of paying the same price that you would have done for it anyway, but you've got 2 out of it, so you can mentally trick yourself into thinking it was a really good idea. In some cases we've just replaced items with something different, something better maybe, and either bought spares or just have the old version here, which will always work just fine in an emergency. So I'll run you through what I keep, and if any of it's of any use to you guys, it might be worth checking out. I know January sales here, if you're in the UK, Internet Reptile has like 50% off everything right now. It's phenomenal. And I know we got some of the stats like this just now, and it's great to have, just back up if anything else. So first things first, I've got light bulbs. So UV, these are replaced yearly. The Arcadia bulbs are good for a year. I like to have some on hand because firstly, you never know if one is going to blow. It's really unlikely with the Arcadia bulbs. They're really good quality. But you never know, and also when that date rolls around, it usually comes around way quicker than I would have thought. And I have a few animals on UV and I want to make sure they get them replaced on the day, so I've got those in spare. Now, other things we've got, for example, the deep heat Projector, which is Arcadia's new heat source. I'm trying it out for the first time with my crested gecko, so I'll probably do a review on this at some point, but it looks to be fantastic, so very excited about that one. I've got an array of basking bulbs and UV coils and spare ceramics. These are the older kind, but they'll do, as I said. I've also got some spare Arcadia Jungle Dawns. Now this is not so much if there's an emergency, because the plants will survive a couple of days. This is more when things are on sale, you know, grab them because they're expensive otherwise. Again, spare compact lamps. Over this side we've got some spare stats, so we've got the Microclimate Evo, which again I'm trying for the first time with my Cresty, so I will review it at some point. If you guys are interested, let me know. Got a spare pulse stat. This was Aki's old stat, as you can see on the top there. Sent off to be replaced, repaired even, and then when it comes back it's used as a spare because I had a replacement for her in the meantime. I've got a light cycle unit, which again was bought on sale and will be used when I have my bearded dragon set up as I want it. Got spare power packs and connectors for all of my LED lighting. Spare power packs for UV, and all sorts of power packs down here as well for LED lighting. Let me just move these out of the way. I've got a spare white python ceramic. I use white python in the majority of my enclosures, so having a spare of this is really important. If one blows, I need to have one on backup. More basking lamps, halogen basking lamps, and down here I'm not going to pull it out, but I've got heat mats and stats in there as well. So a couple of heat mats to replace the ones that I have in the enclosures, and then also some small heat mats if I ever need to quarantine in an emergency. I also have like a backup faunarium and some very small backup enclosures just in case an animal needs to go into a quarantine situation. It's just handy to have. I'm not saying that everyone should have an insane box like this, because I mean, look at it, it's a little bit like a hoarder's paradise. But what I am saying is that if you keep a lot of animals, if you even just keep one, having backup of the most important things that they need is great. That emergency may never happen, but hey, when you need that product again, you've got it to hand. It eliminates so much stress, because until you've been in that situation of not having the stuff to hand, I can't really explain how stressful it is to be there when one of your snakes is cold, or one of your lizards is cold and won't eat. It's really stressful. And these animals, whilst they're hardy, they can also be quite sensitive to changes like that, because it shocks their system a little bit. They're unsure, they don't know kind of seasonally what time it is. So it's just best when we're keeping them in a captive situation to keep it as steady and stable as possible, unless we're purposefully changing seasons on them. So having backup's great. I've got about 27 animals in my house, in my care. So really for 27, it looks mental, but it's kind of like not even backup for each enclosure. It's just on the off chance that something may go wrong here or there. I think I've rambled on enough. I just wanted to share this with you because as fellow reptile keepers, as most of you are, which I think is so cool that we have this kind of forum to chat and talk about things like this, I just think it may be useful. You never know when that time around the corner is, when your ceramic blows or your bulbs blow or whatever, and you just go, oh bugger, I can't get a new one for another 5 days. Whereas if you've got it in a handy little box under your bed, super, you're ready to go. So give me a shout if you have any questions, if you want to know why I'm so crazy with hoarding all of this equipment, or just if you want to get some good website links for some cheap stuff, give me a shout and I will point you in the best direction I can. I hope you're all having an awesome day, and I will catch up with you at the weekend when we go back to our weekly histories, and I will be choosing which snake we look at next. See you guys.